Now we are into the thick of political activity in Telangana movement. When we are discussing about the agitators, activists, political leaders, we shouldn't forget about the people who were supporting Telangana, though they are not from Telangana, they are from different regions, other regions. Especially some people from Andhra also supported Telangana movement very, very strongly. Like we have talked about one Korapati Pattabhiramaya who sat on hunger strike, ex-CPA MLA, along with Telangana people who were doing hunger strike. He was arrested. We are talking about the political leaders from Andhra, like NG Ranga of Swatantra Party, whose first resolution to support Telangana was very important. Swatantra Party is the organization which has supported Telangana unconditionally. Its leader in Andhra Pradesh was Gautu Lachanna. NG Ranga was supporting Telangana arguments or Telangana leaders or the people who were fighting for Telangana in Lok Sabha and asking for separate Telangana from the beginning. And other party, that is Republican Party of India, which was started by Ambedkar. Republican Party of India, a Dalit oriented party, wanted president's rule in Andhra Pradesh and change the situation. They were demanding in their central committee meeting, they have resolved that the central government should appoint a commission with a Supreme Court judge to give Telangana. And they were demanding that according to or as per the States Reorganization Commission, that is Fazal Ali Commission said, Telangana should be separate till some time. Let Telangana be separate. And this was the proposal, this was the resolution they made in their central committee meeting. So these two parties, one is Swatantra Party of NG Ranga and Republican Party of India, were strongly supporting Telangana arguments in LS. Outside that also, for example, Jayaprakash Narayan in 2 or 3 times statements, he has supported separate Telangana. Jayaprakash Narayan, a leader of Gandhian principles in the beginning, then he was the leader of total revolution during emergency period in the next phase. These political parties were supporting Telangana without any condition. Then comes a new chapter in the Telangana Praja Samiti Party. Chennareddy, who was away from TPS, not part of TPS, who were leading then, till then, Madan Mohan, Mallikarjun, all these people were the Sadalakshmi, Sridhar Reddy, all these people were the leaders of Telangana Praja Samiti. And May 22nd, Chennareddy joined TPS and he was made the president of TPS. Because some people who are in TPS already were vehemently propagating or vehemently proposing that Chennareddy should enter TPS and take the leadership into his hands. Because they were thinking that Chennareddy as a political leader, as a mature leader, as a senior leader, starting from 1950s, he was in Telangana politics. So if he is in the leadership, we can achieve Telangana. This was their understanding. That is why there were many songs also in some of the books we could get, like Ravoi Ravoi Chennareddy, Ravemi Ramemi Very Chennareddy. They were singing songs. There are songs on Chennareddy asking him to join TPS and Telangana movement and take the leadership into his hands. So this is a new change happening in TPS. But when Chennareddy comes into the leadership, some people who were opposing the political interference into TPS from the beginning were angry. Sridhar Reddy, like people who were active in all from the beginning, like Nizam College, or you can take Reddy Hostel meetings. Sridhar Reddy was a student leader who gave the slogan "Quit Telangana." So Sridhar Reddy, like people, were not in favor of Chennareddy's induction into TPS. So Sridhar Reddy quit TPS and started a rival Telangana Praja Samiti. So this is another important activity happening in TPS. We'll see it, how the TPS is split, again merging in the future course of action. Within 1 year, we can see both the fractions merging into one TPS. So, next point is a separate PCC, a separate PCC, that is Telangana Pradesh Congress Committee, was formed. This was the demand from the beginning. In gentleman agreement itself, there was a provision and there was an agreement on that for at least next 5 years. PCC for Telangana will be separate, but without any caution, without any understanding of violation, the PCC was completely abolished and it was merged with Andhra PCC. Now again, you see how they are retracting their traces. This should not have been done in the beginning itself. Now they are retracting, and now PCC, separate Telangana PCC, was formed. And Konda Lakshman was made as the president of PCC. Why Konda Lakshman? Because Konda Lakshman is a strong voice from Telangana, and at least though he is a strong voice, he is not going out of Congress limits. That is why they felt that Konda Lakshman is a safe bet. So Konda Lakshman can be put as the PCC chief so that Congress will not have any bigger problems if this PCC is there. So this is the thing happening. On 4th June, Indira Gandhi came on a surprise visit to Hyderabad. By 4th June, there were severe repression. There were many firings happening. Just before Indira's arrival on 4th June, there were at least 2 or 3 instances of firings in which at least 20 to 30 people died. Different instances. So Indira Gandhi is getting all the reports of firings and deaths. Paid a surprise visit to Hyderabad, suddenly without intimating to the local leaders or state leaders, and she came to Hyderabad, met the leaders and went within on the same day. And when the reporters were asking why you came to Hyderabad, is there any solution you are finding out today? She said, no, to take stock of the situations, because I am going on some foreign tour. As the Prime Minister, she was going to some foreign zones. So before that, I wanted to take stock of the situation, so I came. This was the reply. And she is not changing her stand about separate Telangana. Only the thing is, she is trying to understand what more can be done without giving Telangana. That was her stand. Even that was sounded in the press meets in that phase. Then on 7th June, Home Minister Y.B. Chavan came to Hyderabad, but still you don't have any concrete steps to be discussed. From center side, there are 2 important visits, 2 dignitaries visits. One is the Prime Minister herself, and second one is the Home Minister, who is responsible for the situation in the country. Both visited, but without any remedy or a solution for the Telangana movement. So, as usual, the agitation is continuing in Telangana region. On 17th June, Telangana Women's Day was observed. This Telangana Women's Day was a big hit because many women were participating voluntarily and taking part in the protest demonstrations. Hundreds were there, and like people like mayor, city's mayor, then she was mayor, a woman was the mayor of Hyderabad city, Kumud Nayak. She was arrested for protesting for Telangana. She was arrested at the Nehru statue in Abbots, and J. Ishwari Bai was arrested in Secunderabad. Ishwari Bai, Republican Party leader and staunch supporter of Telangana, she was arrested. And many women who were protesting, who came onto streets to protest on Telangana Women's Day, were arrested. This is one of the important activity of women in Telangana movement. Same time, we were talking about Narayan Reddy, who was actively trying to push the agenda of Telangana into Lok Sabha discussions. We can see again on 25th July, he initiated a private bill in Lok Sabha, that is a referendum to be conducted in Telangana so that Telangana can be granted. Of course, this was a private bill, so you can't expect much results from a private bill, private member bill. So, this is one activity inside the parliament. On 1st November 1969, Agreements Violation Day was observed in Telangana. Agreements Violation Day. Whatever the agreements you made with the Telangana leaders, the Andhra ruling class has violated. So, to remember that, to recount it, and to get the inspiration to fight further, this day was observed. On this day, Konda Lakshmana Bapuji started 11-day fast. 11 days fast. And apart from Konda Lakshmana Bapuji's fast, some other people were also sitting on hunger strike. Like one student, young student of 11 or 12 years old, Ramadevi, was sitting on indefinite hunger strike. Mallikarjun, the student leader, doctor, a medical student, Dr. M. Mallikarjun in the latter days, Mallikarjun was also sitting on hunger strike. So these things are the activities happening in 1969 last phase. Then we have to talk about one important aspect. This is also an activity. When we talk about the Martyrs Memorial, it is not just a building, not just construction of a pillar, not just construction of a memorial. It is an important activity in all phases of your agitation. Because you see any movement's dynamics. Whenever you fight, the ruling class will suppress it. In the suppression, some people will be losing their lives. When the people lose their lives, the people who are protesting will pour onto the streets and come to pay homage to the martyrs. In that process, they construct memorials for the fallen heroes and heroines, for the heroes and heroines, for the martyrs of the movement. So same way, likewise, in Telangana also, till now, hundreds of people died in police firing. There should be a memorial for the martyrs. So, Municipal Corporation made resolutions to construct Martyrs Memorial for the martyrs. Amarula Stupam, martyr means Amarulu, memorial, Stupam. Amarula Stupam or Martyrs Memorial for the people who died in 1969 agitation. So, the activity is flowing into 1970. On February 23rd, 1970, at the gun park opposite to Assembly, amidst police deployment, heavy police deployment, police was not allowing anyone to enter into gun park. As we saw the same thing in the last phase of the movement. Even in the last phase of the movement, we could see people were not allowed to go to Martyrs Memorial and they were completely fenced with the barbed wire. And people were not allowed to go and pay homage and start your agitation. Why it is so important? A Martyrs Memorial is so important because you draw inspiration. A Martyrs Memorial will be a place where you are going to take inspiration, a meeting place, and people will get to know each other and get organized into the agitation. So here, because of that, Martyrs Memorial, construction of Martyrs Memorial was obstructed by the government. They were not allowing the people, though it was a resolution of the Municipal Corporation. Again, it's a body, it's a constitutional body. Though the elected body, Municipal Corporation, is making a resolution, the government, Andhra Pradesh government led by Brahmanand Reddy, is not allowing the people to come and lay the foundation stone for the Martyrs Memorial. So this was the situation in 1969-70. Repression begets revolt. Revolt begets more repression. Again, your higher movement will start with the repression. This is the dynamics of the movement. So, even constructing a memorial is an activity. That's what I said now. Belongings of the martyrs were collected by two people. One is Pratap Kishore with the help of his friend Williams. This Martyrs Memorial should not be just a structure of brick or stone. It should have some memories of the fallen heroes or heroines. That is what they thought. So Pratap Kishore, the man who really sowed the movement, separate Telangana movement as a journalist, Pratap Kishore and his friend collected the belongings of the people who died and gathered it, and in the night itself they went and buried the belongings there in the earth, and there on the next day the foundation stone was laid. What were the belongings? Books, certificates, and some pens or some belongings of the fallen martyrs. So the Martyrs Memorial now you see are standing on the belongings of the martyrs. like any Buddhist stupa. On Buddhist relics, you have Buddhist stupa. Here, the Martyrs Memorial at Gun Park has the belongings of the fallen martyrs of 1969 movement. Mayor S. Lakshmi Narayana laid the foundation. Though police were opposing, they tried and finally they could reach to the spot and laid the foundation. Then the mayor was S. Lakshmi Narayana of Hyderabad. Then Dr. Nayak, Nagan Krishna Rao, Chinna Reddy, T. Anjaya or E.V. Padmanabhan, all these people went and gathered on this occasion and this foundation stone was laid. The second memorial, one memorial is just opposite to Gun Park, opposite to assembly in the Gun Park. The other one is Secunderabad Clock Tower Park. So another memorial was in the offing, like the next day on 24th February, Deputy Mayor Ramchandraya laid the foundation stone for the memorial at Secunderabad. And the memorial before assembly was designed by Yekka Yadagiri Rao. Remember this, you may get a question in the bits. Yekka Yadagiri Rao. It's a wonderful stupa, wonderful martyrs memorial, having a clear philosophy to remember the martyrs. So, Martyrs Memorial, foundation stone laying ceremony of Martyrs Memorial was one activity in February that could gather people, that could make the people to resist the repression and go further. And another thing is elections. As I said, we are entering into a phase of political activity than mass agitations. TPS, Telangana Praja Samiti, won Khairatabad by-elections, and this is the direct first victory of TPS because last time their candidate, they have supported a candidate for council. This is direct election in the name of TPS. Nagan Krishna Rao won the assembly seat, Khairatabad assembly seat in the by-elections. Amidst all these political activities, a grand old man who was dreaming Telangana, K.V. Rangareddy, died on 24 July 1970. So, K.V. Rangareddy in last phase, that is 1969 phase, he was giving some statements and advising, but not so active because of his age. And now you can see, he died on 1970, and at that point of time, there were resolutions to install his statue, but later also nothing was happening. So, after this, we are talking about the major event in the Telangana agitation of 1969. What is the major event? Withdrawal of Telangana agitation. When you start an agitation, you don't have the clear-cut agenda or idea of how this movement will spread to. For example, when you start a protest in Khammam, it was an indefinite hunger strike. We don't know, or the people don't know who initiated the hunger strike, that this will become such a big prairie fire. Huge protest, entire state is going to be protesting on the streets. Now, the end is coming as in a decided way. Because in the beginning, you can't decide or you can't plan how the movement will pick up. That is, the dynamics of any movement will be like that. So here in the last phase, because of various reasons, the movement was withdrawn. The first and foremost condition is the conditions are not favorable. Not favorable means you are fighting for the past 1 year, but the center or state is not relenting. And the conditions, you will enter into a fatigue always when you are into a struggle for a long time. So PM Indira Gandhi was so adamant on Telangana demand, you take anything except Telangana. She was not ready to grant Telangana. Why? Because she knows that once Telangana is granted, there will be numerous other demands in other states. She doesn't want to enter into such a situation that new demands will raise in other states and she has to address all those things. Already she is in crisis. We'll talk about that crisis. The crisis is inside the Congress. So she is not ready to take another crisis in terms of administration. So this is very important. So she was adamant. She was always adamant. She was always no to Telangana, separate Telangana. So this is second aspect. then students losing 1 year is a big drawback. Students lost 1 year, and in this entire process, very interestingly, outside the Telangana state or Telangana region or Andhra Pradesh state, there was bad propaganda going on. Even we used to hear that in some of the newspapers, some of the bigger companies of those times, like DCM, were advertising in newspaper. They will be giving notifications for employment. In that employment, below they will be giving Usmania graduates need not apply. It means Usmania graduates are on war path. They did not read or they did not study. They are rowdy like people. They are completely into agitations. So we don't want indisciplined people. Such things were popular in those days. Usmania graduates need not apply was a tagline along with a DCM notifications for employment. So what happened? Many people from Andhra, the natives of Andhra, those who were studying in Hyderabad, took their children to some other place like Delhi, and they said Telangana is not convenient for studies now. Some of the leaders, popular leaders who are in national scenario today, they were studying in Nizam College, and because of Telangana agitation, his father or their parents took him and joined in Delhi. That is how Telangana's educational institutions were completely under fire by the people. One side from Andhra, other. And at the same time, losing one academic year is a serious thing for studies. So this is another aspect. So internal crisis in Congress is the fourth aspect. Inside the Congress, there was a crisis. The old gods and Congress, Indira Gandhi, there is a contradiction. It is brewing inside the Congress. So that contradiction is not favorable for granting Telangana. We can see in the last phase of our election also, in the last phase of our Telangana movement also, whenever there is some serious agitation, central government or Sonia Gandhi, UPA chairperson, used to give a statement or to inform the agitators or the people that this time we are having elections, so till next 3 months we are not going to take any decision on that. We are having this crisis, so no decision on Telangana. Always Telangana was facing such situations. Crisis in Congress will stop Telangana. That is the scenario. So this is another reason. And last one, which is international. Tensions were brewing between India and Pakistan too. This is 70, and we are having 71 war between India and Pakistan. Bangladesh is going to form. Russia is entering into an alliance with India, supporting India, and international scenario is changing. And in this period, we cannot expect central government to be more active in Telangana state than their own affairs like international aspects like war or mobilization towards Russia. So these conditions are not favorable. In this background, Chenna Reddy declared withdrawal of agitation, and they have clearly mentioned that this is the temporary withdrawal of movement. And now we will launch a political movement and not a mass protest, they have said. What do you mean by political movement? Participating in elections is one of the major aspect of politics. So this temporary withdrawal of movement has led to contradictions inside TPS. On 5th December, Chenna Reddy was removed from the post of president by Sadalakshmi, T.N. Sadalakshmi. But immediately, within no time, he got re-elected. Because of the withdrawal, there were some contradictions brewing inside TPS. And within no time, this is happening on 5th December. On 21st January, the two fractions of TRS, that is Chenna Reddy fraction, the TPS under Chenna Reddy and the other group under Sridhar Reddy, merged into one TPS. So this is all political activity happening inside TPS. It has nothing to do with the mass protest or Telangana movement. It is realignment of the TPS forces inside the political organization. So this is the realignment happening in TPS. TPS after realignment, now it is unified. And on 15th January, a protest day was observed commemorating or observing 1 year of agitation of Telangana. Last year, that is 69, in January, in the second week itself, the movement has started with the protest of Ravinnath. So, coinciding with that week, now on 15th January, they have observed a protest day. Hartal was observed in Twin Cities, and thus the movement, I think this is the last political activity Telangana movement of 1969 had. After this, you don't have bigger or important political activities, mass protests or hartals are coming onto streets in protest. So now things are completely in changing mode. How they are changing? In 1971, March 5th, elections to Lok Sabha, Telangana Praja Samiti, by realigning all the forces into TPS, as Chenna Reddy is at the helms of affairs, he is the boss now for TPS. Entire Telangana movement, the active members, activists, political leaders who were supporting Telangana or who were identified with Telangana are now into TPS. So all these people at the command of TPS. Now Chenna Reddy is steering the TPS into political activity. 1971 elections are very interesting elections for Congress, for TPS too. TPS contested elections on the symbol of Ho, that is Para. Para Gurtuke Mi Votu was the slogans on the walls in 71. Those who are born in 60s can see, even after 70s, 10 more years, we could see Para Gurtuke Manavotu symbols on the walls of Telangana. TPS was a popular political formation of those days. That is why they won 10 seats out of 14 seats in Telangana. Out of 14, 10 is not a joke for a party which started recently, fighting an established grand old Congress party. Congress won only in 3 seats and another was won by CPM. That is Khammam, Nizamabad and Adilabad were won by Congress. Nizamabad already sitting MP, that is Narayan Reddy, who was for Telangana. So automatically people, though it is a Congress, though he was a Congress candidate, he won again. And CPM won at Miryalagoda. Bhimreddy Narasimha Reddy, another stalwart of CPM who participated in Telangana armed struggle, won the elections. So remaining 10 won by TPS candidates. Important people like Mallikarjun, GS Melkote. GS Melkote was there from the beginning, from 1950s. Mallikarjun is a student leader, a product of 1969 movement. MM Hashim, G. Venkat Swami, popularly known as Kaka in the latter period. S.B. Giri, M. Bhishmadev, J. Rameshwar Rao, Vanparthi Raja, V. Tulsi Ram, Satyanarayan Rao, Ramakrishna Reddy, all these were elected as MPs. Indian National Congress was victorious, but it was not victorious in Telangana. Now, in this background, the TPS was forced to merge into Congress. Indira Gandhi forced all the leaders to opt for Congress. Very interesting aspect. Chenna Reddy has put forth 6 conditions for the merger. But what has happened? The conditions were nothing but an escape route for Chenna Reddy, because if Chenna Reddy doesn't want the merger also, it will happen. Because out of 10, 8 MPs were already in touch with Indira Gandhi and were ready to join Congress, as Venkat Swami said in the latter period. So Chenna Reddy has nothing left in his hands, and he has put some proposals like removal of Brahmanand Reddy from the post of CM, Telangana MLAs given an opportunity to see the new ministry and separate Congress committee, reformulating Mulki rules, effective functioning of Telangana Regional Committee, no disparities in the economic development of Telangana. All these are namesake, except, you see, the 5 demands, the latter 5 demands are not so concrete. All these demands are Telangana movement's demands, and 8-point formula is also talking about this. What's new in these demands? Except the first one, change of guard, that is Brahmanand Reddy should be sacked. So, on 15 September 1971, Brahmanand Reddy resigned. On 30th September, P.V. Narasimha Rao sworn in, the first Telangana minister in true sense. Chief Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao was sworn in as the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. Again in 1972 elections, Congress won because TPS got merged into Congress. And meanwhile, Chenna Reddy was appointed as the governor of UP. So, what are the important aspects and conclusions we make out of this 1969 movement? 1969 movement remains as a strong mass protest against Andhra Pradesh. This is mass protest I am calling. In 1952, the protest was short-lived. The protest was limited. But 1969 is much more widespread, much more violent, much more bigger in terms of deaths, in terms of martyrdom, in terms of political propaganda. So 1969 movement remains as a strong mass protest. It has exposed the gravity of injustice, exposed the central government's neglect and bias against Telangana. It has exposed the limitations and the weakness of Telangana leadership too. For example, the political opportunism of Telangana leadership, Congress leadership, was completely thoroughly exposed, starting from Chokka Rao's or Achyut Reddy's flip-flops for Telangana. You can see Congress leaders were not in a position to command in Andhra Pradesh in the government or to make some lobbying efforts with the central government. So this was exposed in this phase. It has exposed the limitations of mass movements also, which was not having political, matured, ideological and physical leadership. Politically matured, ideological and physical leadership I am talking about. What do you mean by politically matured, ideological leadership? Telangana is the only one cause, but there should be some ideological grooming. Otherwise, you will have many people coming into movement and going out of the movement or taking the direction of the movement into different strides. So this was lacking in this movement, and at the same time it was not having a really matured or a serious group of people who were leading the movement. So though thousands and lakhs of people poured onto the streets in 1969, this 1969 movement ended without achieving Telangana. But lastly, remember, 1969 is not a defeat. 1969 has left us some remnants so that it can be carried further in the last phase of the movement. So 1969 is a very important, glorious, heroic chapter in the history of Telangana against the injustice of Andhra ruling class and central government.